The U.S. Supreme Court has just issued a major ruling.
Justice's ruling this morning, it conflicts with the Second Amendment's right to bear arms.
Everybody has a right if they're a responsible adult.
The decision that shocked the nation. It started as a quiet courtroom dispute, buried under legal arguments and technical filings. But when the Supreme Court stepped in, everything changed. In a stunning 8-1 decision, the justices just dismantled a key gun rights law passed in Missouri, and in doing so, they've drawn a sharp new line in the sand for every state in America. This ruling doesn't just strike down one law. It opens the door to a nationwide fight over how far states can go to protect your Second Amendment rights against federal gun control. Today, we break down what the court really said, what Justice Thomas revealed in his powerful dissent, and what it means for you, your state, and your freedom. Subscribe now so you never miss a moment in the battle to defend your rights and your Constitution. Chapter 1. The Case That Lit the Fuse. When Missouri passed its Second Amendment Preservation Act, the goal was clear: protect gun owners from federal overreach. The state put forward one of the strongest legal challenges ever seen against federal gun enforcement. It worked for a moment, then the federal government and the courts turned their full attention to dismantling it. This case quickly became the centerpiece of a national constitutional showdown. Missouri attempted to block federal gun enforcement inside its borders. The law imposed penalties on law enforcement agencies cooperating with federal gun efforts. Missouri argued that states cannot be forced to enforce federal laws. The federal government challenged the statute as unconstitutional. The case was always destined for the Supreme Court. No one expected the ruling to be this decisive, or the lesson it would deliver for states trying to defend their residents' rights. Chapter 2. The 8-1 Bombshell. The Supreme Court sent a clear message in an 8-1 ruling. Federal authority cannot be undermined by state legislation declaring federal laws invalid. Even conservative justices aligned against Missouri. But this was not a rejection of gun rights. It was a rejection of the specific legal approach used by 8 justices rejected Missouri's legal strategy. The court emphasized federal supremacy and constitutional structure. Justice Thomas was the sole voice willing to grant Missouri temporary relief. The decision did not weaken Second Amendment protections set under Bruen. This ruling did not close the door on defending gun rights. It only closed one path that the states attempted. There are others, and they are already being drafted. Chapter 3. The Penalty That Triggered Crisis. Missouri's approach included steep financial penalties against law enforcement. The state intended to deter cooperation with federal gun enforcement, but the system backfired quickly as lawsuits surged and agencies faced severe costs. Officials across the state were forced to choose between compliance and financial collapse. $50,000 penalties for cooperation with federal gun enforcement. Nearly 50 lawsuits were filed within months of activation. Local agencies risked hundreds of thousands in penalties. Budgets are strained simply from defending against claims. The intention was to build a shield. Instead, the structure created internal fragmentation that courts viewed as destabilizing rather than protective. Chapter 4. Sanctuary strategy turned upside down. Missouri borrowed strategies used by immigration sanctuary jurisdictions. The idea was simple. If cities can refuse to assist federal immigration enforcement, states can refuse federal gun enforcement. But a key legal difference separated the two approaches, and it proved fatal. Sanctuary cities did not declare federal law invalid. Missouri did. Strategy based on anti-commandeering doctrine. Liberal sanctuary cities relied on non-cooperation language. Missouri declared federal regulations invalid within the state. The court viewed this as unconstitutional nullification. A single word choice changed the legal outcome, and that mistake cost Missouri the defense it believed it had locked in. Chapter 5. Justice Thomas stands alone. Justice Clarence Thomas once again showed why he is viewed as a pure originalist. His dissent signaled a belief that states should have more power to resist federal intrusion. Thomas did not defend the specific structure of the law, but the right to challenge federal authority. Standing alone has never deterred him. Thomas has stood solo in dissent more than 70 times. He prioritizes constitutional text over modern frameworks. His position signals deeper federalism debates ahead. Many legal scholars believe he is thinking decades into the future. Thomas did not lose this battle. He planted a constitutional flag for others to build from. Chapter 6. The Bruen advantage remains untouched. This ruling did nothing to weaken the Supreme Court's landmark Bruen decision. Bruen remains the most powerful Second Amendment ruling in modern history. It requires firearms laws to align with historical tradition. That standard continues to overturn unconstitutional restrictions nationwide. Bruen raised the success rate of Second Amendment challenges dramatically. Hundreds of gun regulations have been struck down under the standard 8. Courts must now review gun laws through historical analysis. The rights of lawful carriers and owners have expanded since 2022. While Missouri lost one strategy, Bruen continued driving victories in courtrooms across America. Chapter 7. Fear of Federal Enforcement. Missouri acted aggressively because gun owners have seen unprecedented federal actions. Expanded enforcement, reclassification of firearms parts, and compliance sweeps have escalated concerns. This fueled state lawmakers to build a legal wall. The urgency was real, even if the execution faltered. Federal firearm inspections increased significantly in recent years. Reclassification of bump stocks and frames triggered controversy. Millions of transaction records are now digitized federally. States fear regulatory action being used as legislation. Missouri saw smoke and assumed fire. The Supreme Court reminded them that the Constitution draws the lines, not emotion or urgency. Chapter 8. The Supremacy Clause Trigger. The Constitution's Supremacy Clause ensures federal law outranks conflicting state law. Missouri attempted to bypass this by arguing non-enforcement, but one word shifted the law from non-cooperation to nullification. That was enough to invalidate the entire statute. Anti-commandeering allows states to refuse enforcement. Nullification attempts to invalidate federal law within a state. Missouri crossed that line with statutory language. The court reaffirmed the Supremacy Clause limitations. Had the wording focused solely on refusing cooperation, the legal outcome could have been different. Chapter 9. What states will do next? Red states are already revising their laws based on this ruling. They will avoid the word invalid and instead emphasize refusal to assist. New laws will rely entirely on the anti-commandeering doctrine and Bruen standards. Legal experts expect a wave of rewritten measures designed to stand up in court. States are removing nullification language, focus shifting to structured non-cooperation clauses. Legislatures are coordinating with constitutional attorneys. The next generation of gun rights bills is already underway. This decision was not the end, but the blueprint for what must happen next. Chapter 10. This was a lesson, not a loss. Missouri's defeat delivered clarity, not defeat. The Supreme Court signaled exactly where the legal limits exist and where the opportunities remain. Gun rights remain strong, and history-based review still governs regulation. The next wave of Second Amendment statutes will be smarter and more resilient. States must draft laws aligned with historical precedent. Cooperation refusal is permissible. Nullification is not. Thomas's signal fuels. Future federalism challenges. Political momentum for state-level gun rights remains high. This decision did not weaken the Second Amendment. It sharpened the strategy for its defense. The fight evolves, and we stand ready. For every gun owner in America, this ruling marks a turning point. The courts have drawn the battle lines, and those who defend the Second Amendment now know how to win. The path forward is clearer than ever. The strategies will be more precise, more constitutional, and more effective. And here on Firearms Law Advisor, we will break down every case, every argument, and every ruling that shapes your freedom. Do not leave your rights in someone else's hands. Stay informed, stay prepared, and stay involved. Subscribe to Survival Firearms right now, turn on notifications, and share this video to support the movement for constitutional protection across all 50 states. The fight continues, and together we will stand for the Second Amendment with discipline, clarity, and unwavering resolve.